Assignment yet? Yes, I have a taker. Somebody's done it. Okay, cool. But let's just take a quick look here. Let's take a quick look at what we're building. So we're just building a nice little 3-page application. We're going to have an index route that shows all of our authors. Then we're going to have a new route that allows us to create new authors. And then we'll have a route where we can edit an individual author. Okay. So the only thing that we're kind of missing here is that we don't have a show route. But otherwise, I mean, we're seeing it here on the index route anyway. Okay, cool. So let's see what the requirements are here. So backend validations, we're going to have all the regular stuff with our backend. And then we want to ensure that all author names and quotes are at least 3 characters long. Okay. Do you guys see anything about quotes in here, though?
It's the other assignment.
There's like a follow-up assignment that has quotes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just add another thing to the form. Rather than just the name, we'll have an age on there, just to kind of like spice things up a little bit, right? And then, so validations must also be applied when editing an author. So we're going to have the same sort of logic. If somebody enters in something that doesn't work here, we just want to display that on the page and let them know. Okay, and then we've got some bonuses, which we probably won't do unless... Huh? Well, one of them is if we try to go to an edit page with an unrecognized ID, we're just going to say display an error message or sorry. I don't know. If we have some extra time, we could do it, or sort the authors alphabetically. Not really that big of a deal. Okay, but basically what we want to do is we want to get the back-end part of this fully fleshed out, and we can test it, you know, the normal way with Postman, make sure that it works. And then assuming it does, we can go on to building the front end, right? So let's kind of get a new app going. What do we want to do, as usual? Let's init this guy. All right. And then let's install the packages we need. What are we going to want? Okay, Express, Mongoose.
So have you completely given up JS?
What's that?
Have you basically given up JS?
Yeah, because you know that is not in the mean stack, right? It's only Angular that's handling our front end. All right, so let's kind of create some folder structure here. So we're going to have our server folder, right? And then inside that, we usually have a config folder that has what inside of it? Routes, mongoose.js. Okay, and then the server is also going to have a controllers folder. Oops. And then also the models folder. Whoa. Did I just... Oh, God. I ended up inside my my config folder. Sometimes that happens, so you got to watch out for that. So we'll have a models folder. Okay. What kind of model am I going to have here? What's that? An author, right? Yeah, exactly. So let's create a new file in there. Let's call it author.js. And then what do I need to bring in when I'm going to create a new model? Nope. Mongoose. Alright. Good deal. And then we're going to create a schema, right? So let's call it author schema. New mongoose schema. Alright. What's this schema going to look like? So we have a name, and then we decided we were going to add an age to that as well. So name, this will be type string. Oops. And then we want to say required. And then we could also pass in an array. So if we pass in an array for required, we can give it a, so the first thing we're going to say is that we do want it to be required. The second thing that we can pass is whatever our custom message is. So what do we want to say if that's not provided, right? What's that? Well, in this case, it's going to be please enter a name. And I'll put an exclamation point because I'm angry. All right. What else do we want? A min length, right? So we should be able to do the same thing, right? So we can specify a min length of 3 and then say, please enter a name of at least 3 characters. Okay. All right, and then we also wanted to have an age, and this is going to be type number. Let's say that's required as well, right? True. Please enter an age. What other kind of requirement do we want them to be like at least 10 years old or something like that? What's that? All right. So we should be able to pass in some kind of a validate function, which will enable us to take in some data and ensure that that data meets our requirements. So let's say we're going to create a little function here that takes in an age.
Orly, would you please make the code a little bit bigger?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. Is that big enough? Because sometimes when I make it too big, it makes these things like impossible for me to navigate. So hopefully it's big enough. All right, so we're just going to have this little function that returns a Boolean. So we want to return whether age is greater than or equal to 10. And then we can also provide a message for that, right? So please enter an age greater of at least 10.
And just set a minimum value for age.
Quite possibly. How were you doing that?
It's just,
Oh, it's just min? Oh, geez. All right, let's make our lives easier.
it's good to know.
Yeah, that is good to know. However, when it comes through, it's going to come through as a string, correct? Does min still work on that? Have you guys tried it yet?
It'll be number. Because your type is number. So,
So it's going to cast it before it even runs the validation? Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'll take your word for it. So we'll say min on that guy is going to be 10. Okay. Cool. So that's our schema. Then we want to add timestamps as always. Created at, updated at. Okay. And then what else do I need to do in this file? Yeah, we need to actually register it. Correct. So we'll say mongoose.model author and then pass that guy in. Okay, good deal. Let's just create our server.js because we are going to need that. What do I need here inside my server.js? Our old friend. All right, and then what are we going to do with it? Create one. Okay, and I'll come down here and listen. Say on port 8000. Okay. Cool. And then we also need to use some different things, right? Because we're going to be taking in some API requests. What do we need to use with our app? Yeah. So we're going to say app.use, and then we'll say express, and then invoke this JSON method. And this will enable us to process incoming JSON from our front end. And then what? Say that again? Well, we haven't even gotten there yet. So we haven't created an Angular app. So right now we're just focusing on the back end part. All right. So let's let's touch on some different things. So we have this model that we created. We don't have any controllers yet. So we're going to need one of those too, right? Let's create authors. Oops. Okay. And what am I going to need inside my authors controller? Mongoose again, right? And why am I requiring that?
You import the model.
Yeah, so I can get a reference to my model. Good. So here we're going to say const author equals mongoose, whoops, dot model author. Okay, and then what am I typically exporting from a controller file? What kind of thing?
Object.
An object. Okay, so we say module.exports, some object, and then we're going to have some different methods. Let's just say for now we'll create an index method which will grab all of our authors, because we know we're going to need that for that main index page. Okay, so that's going to take in a request and a response. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find all my authors. So we'll do .then. We're going to get back some authors, presumably. And then we're going to go res.json, our authors. Okay. Catch, I don't know, we'll just console log for now. Alright, fair enough. We also need to touch on routing as well. So now we've got a model and a basic controller. We also need to have routes, right? What am I going to need to import to my routes file? The controller, right? Okay, so we'll say const authors controller require, and then that we need to go out one level and then inside controllers and then to authors. Okay, and what am I typically exporting from my routes.js file? A function, right, that will allow me to apply all these different routes. So we'll say module.exports equals a function that takes in an application. And then we'll just say we'll get our main route. So to pull all the authors, let's say app.get. We'll go /API/authors. And then we're just going to use the authors controller index method, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Or are we all like feeling pretty good about this? Yeah? All around? Okay. Solid. Cool. So what we need to do is we need to finish up this mongoose file because we actually haven't done anything in there yet. What do I want to require there? Mongoose itself. Okay. And then what do I need to do with mongoose? Connect to the database. Very good. So we'll say mongoose.connect. And then I need to provide the connection string. So it's going to be mongodb, whoops, localhost. And then we'll say this is going to be the authors database. Then I'm going to provide some options here. So use, find, and modify. I think I'm going to set that to false. And then topology. And then new URL parser, I think is the other one we need, right? Okay, cool. So what else am I going to import inside here? Yeah, maybe FS. If I feel like I may have multiple models and I want to do them one by one. So let's just practice that real quick. So we'll say const fs equals require fs. And then down here, what I'm going to want to do is I'll say fs.read dir sync. And actually, before I get there, let's just say where is our model's path? So it's going to be the current directory that we're in. And then I'm going to attach something to it. So I'm going to go / up one level inside models, right? Okay, so that's the directory that I want to read. I want to read my models directory. So let's go models. And then once I finish that operation, I should have some array of files, assuming that I don't get an error or something like that, and I shouldn't. So let's just iterate through that. So I can do for each, and that takes a callback function, which takes a file. Okay. So if this particular file that I'm looking at has a .js extension, let's just require it because that's going to be one of our models, right? So if file.index of .js is greater than -1, then let's require it. So you got to go require models path plus a / plus the name of that file. Okay, looks pretty good, right? Let's go inside our server.js, and now we need to require a couple things. What are they?
Routes.
Okay. So is that the first thing we're going to bring in now?
No, it's the models.
No, we're going to bring in the models. Mongoose. Yeah, let's bring that in first. So what would happen if I brought in my routes first?
It would be error because you won't get it.
Because my routes are depending on Mongoose being connected. So if I haven't made that connection before I start applying my routes, we're going to have some breakage, right? So let's say require, where is that? That's inside server config mongoose. Cool. And then the other thing we want to require, as always, is just going to be our routes themselves. So that's inside server config routes. And then what am I going to do with this? So once I get this back, I get my routes. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to invoke it against my application. Exactly. So let's take this. All right. So we're in pretty good shape. Can we run this right now?
We don't have the HTML.
True, but we're just creating our API, right? What's that?
Yeah, I said we're just calling JSON right now.
Yeah. We could probably run this and just get back our authors, right? I mean, we're at least in Postman.
The create function.
Shouldn't even have to write the create function, right? I mean, I can have no authors, and that's fine. All right. So let's see if we get any errors here. We should be okay. But let's just go nodemon server.js. Something's wrong. Models is not. Oh, I said models and not models path. Whoops. My bad. Okay, so let's change that. Let's see if we got it working again. Okay, so now we're all right. So let's just go inside Postman real quick. I'll go create a GET request, and we're just going to go to localhost 8000 API/authors. Right? Okay, so that's working so far. We're able to get an empty array of authors, so we're all good. As Elish mentioned, we also are going to want to have some other different things that we can do, like a create method, right? We also want to be able to update and delete. Was there anything else we have to do here? We don't have to get one by ID, so that's something that we don't have to write.
Is that gonna be on test too?
I can't tell you that, man. That was a nice try though, just like slipping it in there. We'll see. All right, so let's just have a create method. Okay, my create method is going to take in a request and a response. And then what I'm going to do is, author.create, taking in what? What am I going to take in when I try to create an author? My request body, exactly. So let's do rec.body. And then we'll have a couple possibilities. Either it went through the way that we wanted it to, and we're going to have access to an author. Okay, so I'll just send back the author inside of an object. Okay, so if it didn't work, for now, let's just send back the error, and then later on we'll sort of add some handling on the front end that will make that a little better. So let's just say res.json errors e. All right, fair enough. Let's try creating an author. So we also need to tie this back into our routes every time we add a new method, right? So if I
Do
go,
you not need like express class and everything so the class message in the front end, or it's just JSON is not gonna take care of that? Or
Just do quick things.
well, yeah, it's not that it's going to take care of it. It's we're going to have to write some way to handle it. But yeah, you won't be using Express Flash. Express Flash we're only using with our EJS projects. Okay. All right, so let's add this route as well. So we'll have an app.post API. God, I keep thinking tasks now. My brain is just like all about those tasks. So we got our authors controller, and then we have our create method. Okay, let's try to create an author here and see if that works. So I'll make a post request to authors, and then you guys also need to change inside the body here. You have to click on raw and turn this to JSON. Okay, one other error that I've seen people make sometimes is they think that we can just do something like this. That's not valid JSON. You actually have to have all of the keys be quoted as well. They have to be strings. So let's go name. Let's say Ken Kesey. Whoa. He's no longer alive, so we'll say 900. Okay, anything else we need here? So we just have the name and the age. We should be all right, right? Let's try to hit this. Okay, so as expected, we got back this author object that was created, so that's good. Let's try doing one that won't validate, right? Let me do one with one letter in it. So here we're getting an error here. Please enter a name of at least 3 characters, and that's nice and customized because that's what we wanted, right? Or if let me make that Ken, and then we'll make the age 1. Let's see if that doesn't validate either. Cool. Hey, I like that, man. Very nice. Okay, so validations are working correctly on the create part. So what's the other stuff that we got to write here? Delete? Yeah, let's write that one. That's like super simple, right? So if I go to authors, let me close out some of these guys that we don't need to see right now. Mongoose is done. Okay, cool.
One quick question. So when
Sure.
we're creating these routes, right? The creating route, can it be in any way, but like when we are putting them together in the route folder itself, that has to be organized, right? Or it also has to be the same way. I mean, can I just create delete all the way on the top of the for index? Or
Oh, yeah. No, that's okay because remember the way that objects work in JavaScript, there's not really any sense of order to them. They just have these different key value pairs. So it doesn't really matter if I bring my delete up here. It's all the same. It's just an object. It doesn't really have a notion of order to it. Okay. All right. Good question though. So let's come write this guy, our delete method. So I'm going to do author.find by ID and delete. Okay. Where am I getting my ID from? Rec.params. Do I want an underscore ID or does anyone know if I want?
I've just started to always underscore so that it's just uniform.
Stevie does that too. All right, I'm not gonna do it though, but you guys can do it if you like. It's up to you. All right, so if we successfully deleted, let's just send back something. I don't know. Status success. Oops. Okay, and then if there was an error, Oops. We'll just send back what it was. What kind of error do you think we might get on a delete, by the way? Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. If we couldn't find that specific object, then that could be a problem, right? Oops. Okay, cool. So we have our delete. We also need to apply that in the routes, right? So let's make a app.delete, and then that's going to go to API authors, and then I'm going to say ID, but again, if you guys are saying underscore ID, this needs to change, right? It's got to also be underscore ID. Okay, so here let's say authors controller. Let's go delete. Okay, let's test it out, see if it works. So we had an ID. Actually, now we need to go get our authors because I don't know what the ID was. Get. So the author is this. Let's try to delete him. If I go delete, drop that ID in there. Success. So we successfully deleted him, and then if we go back to get all the authors, oops. Okay, so now we're back to an empty array, just where we started. Okay, let me create one more so that we actually have someone we can update. And then down here in our body, let's put him back in. Cool. All right, so now we have one that we can update. We just need to write that method. That's about it. Let's go here. We'll call it update, rec, res, and then I'm going to do the old author.find by ID and update. Okay, and this one is going to take in the ID. So where am I getting this again? No, not rec.body. Rec.params. .id. For you guys doing it the other way, underscore ID, if you like it that way. Okay, and then we need to have the update object. Where am I going to get that from? The body, right? Request body. And then my third argument is just going to be some options here. So I want to receive the new version of the author that I just updated. So I'll say new, true. And then I want to run the validators as well. So that will also be true. Oops. Okay, cool. And then we need to have a .then as well. So if we successfully do this, we're going to get the updated author. And then I'm just going to send that guy back, author.
When you were running that validators, it's the same validators from the index route, right? I mean, when we first created the validators on our model.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what that means. It's that we want to run the same validations on update as we did with create. So that way if somebody tries to make a change, say they take someone who had a name of at least 3 letters and then they drop it down to like 1 letter, we want to stop them from making that update, right? Okay, cool. So we've got our update. Let's see if we can update this author. I think we need to add that to the routes though, right? Okay. So what kind of request is this going to be? Put for updating. So we'll go API authors and then ID authors controller dot update. Excellent. Let's try to make an update here. So I'm going to grab this ID and then we'll do put request, and then let's just change his age to 99. Okay, so I got my updated object. That was all good. His age has now changed. And again, if I want to test my my validators, if I try to insert a name of one character, I'm going to get this validation error again, right? So that's good. All right, excellent. So we've pretty much have everything all built out on the back end. Is there anything else you guys think we need to do on the back end?
I think we do need to get one other, right?
Where?
Otherwise, how do we pre-populate the edit form?
Yeah, find by ID.
You are absolutely right. Good call. All right, cool. Let's do that real quick. So let's say get one. Whoops. Get one. Rec res. Okay, and then we're gonna do author find by ID. Where am I getting this again? params.id dot then author res.json my author catch all right. Okay, and then we just need to add that to the routes as always. So if I go app.get API authors /ID. Okay, and then we'll just do get one here. Let's make sure this works real quick. So if we go back here, I already have a put request there. Let's do a get request to that. Cool, it's working. All right, so we're solid. So we got the back end almost completely built. I mean, there's maybe like one small thing with that error handling that I think we'll come back to. But other than that, we're ready to actually do our Angular app, right? Sounds good?
So had we not used Angular, then we would be using EJS.
Not necessarily. I mean, it could be something else. There are other templating engines that you can use for back-end rendering. There's another one called Nunjux, which is kind of nice. I think there's another one called Dust as well. So there are other templating engines too if you're trying to do back-end server rendering. All right, but we feel pretty good about our server, so let's start doing the actual front-end part. So I'll do another terminal window here. Okay, and then let's go ng new public. Okay, routing, yes, we want that. And then we'll just do CSS for that. Pretty standard stuff. Cool. And while we're waiting for that to happen, let's go take care of our server. So we want to be able to do some front-end rendering as well. So what else do we need to add to this?
Static.
So let's use express.static, right? Okay. app.use .static. And then we want to map that to dir name plus public dist public. Now, the reason I'm not doing index on this one is because we also want the JavaScript files to resolve as well. Okay, and then after we get done with all of our other routing, this is where I want to do the catch-all. So if I hit a different route on in my Angular application, I still want it to work. So let's do the app.all. And then this will be a request and response. And then we're just going to do a res.send file. And the file that I want to send is going to be that index.html that's in my dist, or my dist public folder. Okay, so let's go public dist public index.html. Okay, so I guess we didn't really need the request at all, right? Let's just underscore that. Cool. So it won't work yet because obviously we haven't actually built the Angular application, so we have to do that. So let's do ng build, but we have to get inside that directory first. So I'll go cd public, and then we'll go ng build -- watch. Okay, while we're waiting for that, does anybody have any questions with what we did here with the routing part? No? This is all very clear while we're using both this and this? Or is there some kind of
Does
confusion?
it matter where we put line 6? Because sometimes I see you put it after the route.
Do it. I would say probably do it up here. It's not particularly going to matter though, because the files inside that public directory are really not going to conflict with any of your routes that we're building, right? We're never going to have a file inside of our public that'll be like /API/something else. So you don't need to worry too much about it. This is kind of the most important thing though, that catch-all happens after all of these routes. All right, cool. So the Angular application has built. So let's just take a look real quick and see if we can see it. 8,000. Okay, so we're getting our Angular application, so that's kind of nice, right? Let's. I knew that I knew that was going to happen. That somehow I was going to flip to that. And I was like, oh man, I should have closed it before. All right. Anyway, no worries. So let's look at the routes that we have to create. We have 3 different pages. Again, we've got our index, we've got our new, and then we've got our edit for an individual one. So let's add that routing in right out the gate so that we don't have to kind of mess with it later on. Okay, so let me close these files real quick. And then let's go inside of our public. Where are we going to do routing? Anyone know? Right in here. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so before we do that though, let's create the new components that we need. Alright, so let's go inside of our public again. And we're going to create a new author component. So we'll go ngg c new author. Great. And then we'll go ngg c I don't know, all authors. Okay. And then the other one that we need was that edit author, right? ngg c edit author. Excellent. Okay, cool. So those have been created. So now what we need to do is we have to add these to our routes array. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to do that edit route. And if we check it again, the URL is just going to be /edit and then /some ID, right? So we'll say the path will be, edit and then some ID. And then we'll call the component edit author component, and then it will bring it in for us if we press tab. So that autocomplete is quite nice. All right, now I need to have a path, of new. Component for this will be new author component. And then finally, we just need to show all authors, right? So we'll say path blank, and then we'll say path match is full on that guy. And that's going to be a component of all authors. All right. Cool. So now that we have that, yes, question?
Are we going to need nested routes for the nav, like with the parent and the child?
You could. Oh man, that's. You could get away without it.
You can get away with that.
It could potentially make your life easier, but you know, you could do it without. Yeah.
Those emitters.
Well, no, I'm not. We weren't addressing nested components. That's what you're talking. When you say emitters, yeah, that would be like a nested component. We were talking about nested routing. Yeah, so that's
I
a
don't
bit
even know.
different.
So the requirement won't say something like use nested route to do this.
Yeah, it won't be a requirement where like if you don't use nested routing, you're getting docked on it.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah. Okay, so these are our 3 routes right now. Let's just check and make sure that we're getting all the things that we expect. So if we hit the main page, you can see down here we're getting this all authors works, right? And then if we go new, we're getting new author works, so that's good. And then we should also have one other, so if we go edit and then slash some ID, I don't know, 456. There you go. Edit author works. All right. So the first thing I'm probably going to do is just clear out all of this so that we don't keep getting distracted with the default Angular stuff. So let's open up our app.component.html and do a big rip out. So everything above this router outlet I'm just going to take out. Is there anything here that we want to, let's see. So favorite authors, notice how that appears on all 3 pages. So we can actually put that inside of our app component so that we don't need to code it every time, right? So here, let's just do an H1 and go favorite authors. Okay. And then I also see some little links here in these guys. So on the main page, I've got an add an author link. So maybe we can create that, right? And then we've got home links for the other 2. Okay, so in the all authors component, right here, let's just add a link to the add a new author, right? Okay, so let's go a router link, and then we'll say new. Add a new author.
On the link, you need that /.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing that can be kind of confusing is that in the link we use the /. However, in the routing module we don't. Right. Okay. So we got that, and then we're going to have a home link in the other 2 guys. So inside my edit author, let's do this. So router link, and this one's just going to be a /, and we'll say that takes us home. I'm going to copy this because this also shows up inside my new author page, right? Okay, cool. Let's see if we can navigate through this guy. So if we go to the home route and we go add a new author, there we go. So we ended up with a new page. Home takes us right back. So that's all working as expected, right? How about if we work on the new author page? Does that sound good? Yeah? All right. Cool. New author is here. Let's go into the component. So if we're going to have a form taking in some data here, what do we need to add to our application?
Invite.
Well, before we even do that, because remember how the other day when we were trying to add a form and it was submitting the old way? Remember that? Yeah, we got to take that forms module in, right? So if I go to my app.module.ts, let's add forms module, and I can't get this guy to autocomplete for some reason. Import forms module from Angular forms. I was thinking it was like common for a second, but no. Alright, so it comes from forms. Alright, excellent. So we've got that. So let's just go and create an actual form that will work for us. So create this guy here. And what is our form supposed to look like? Yeah. Nothing too exciting. Yeah, and then we'll have like a cancel button inside there if we want. So I think there was just sort of a p tag, add a new author here. Come down here, let's create our form. Get rid of this action, right? Oops. Okay, and then I'm just going to create an input group here, name, and then this one's going to be, oh, that didn't sound good. Huh? No. This input group, I don't want you guys to start trying to use it unless you actually create the HTML snippet. That's something that I added. So Emmett can't do input group by itself. You can add it as an HTML snippet though. And I highly recommend that you do it. Huh?
You can do it like times 4, times 5, even if you put it in a bracket.
I don't think that would work. Let me, I'll try it in a second, but no, I don't think that would work. So if I go input group times 4. See, now it's going to just treat it as like an XML tag or something, and that's not what we wanted. Okay, so that's lame. Let's go button here. Whoa. Why am I losing my autocomplete all of a sudden? There we go. Okay. Was the submit on the left? Okay, cancels on the left. Cool. And then I'm going to have another button that submits. Okay. So what's my action going to be on a cancel? Yeah, I'm just going to navigate somewhere. So let's just add like a little click handler here. And then we'll just say handle cancel. Like that, right? Cool. And then my form needs to have a submit handler. So we'll say submit. And then that will be handle submit. Cool. And then I'll also probably put something up here where we can render out some errors. So let's just loop through them. So how do I do that typically? Well, before we even get to the let, ng4, right? And then we'll do something like let error of errors. And then I'll just render out the error.
What if there's no errors? Does this throw error?
Not if I set my errors as an empty array.
Oh.
Right? Okay, so that should be okay. All right, so I've got these guys. I still need to do my old banana in a box though, right? All right. Banana in a box. All right. ng model for this one is just going to be new author dot name. Down here we'll have ng model new author dot age. All right, so we're in pretty good shape inside our new author component. Let's create that thing, right? So we'll say new author equals an object that has a name of nothing and an age of nothing. Okay. And then we also need to have a couple methods in here. So we're going to have a handle cancel, right? What am I going to need to import to actually handle my cancel? I heard form module. Any other guesses? Router. Very good. All right, so let's bring that guy in. Actually, I'm just going to try to stick it in the constructor and see if it'll, I think it'll happen here. So if I go private router is router. Oh, sick. Love it. Okay, cool. So inside my cancel, I'm just going to go this dot router dot navigate, and then this takes an array, right? So we're just going to go back to the main index route. Okay, and then I also need a handle submit, right? For right now, let's just console log that the submit happened. Okay, fine. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. New author. Whoops, I need to say this new author. Okay, so let's get back to this page here. New. All right. Let's open up our console here. Good. I'll just drop some stuff in here. Stuff. 80. What? Form submission canceled because the form is not connected.
That's new.
Has anyone ever gotten that error?
Yeah, I got this yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, wait. What happened here? Form is not connected. To what?
Fixed.
What did you do? Like rebuild or something?
I don't know.
I
I went to the bathroom and then came back and it's all like working now.
It must have been a rebuild.
What? Come on.
The code fairy.
Type of undefined. Oh, that's something else. Form is not connected. Wow. I haven't seen that one before. Form is not connected, Angular. Oops. Oh, that's the exact same error we're getting, right? There might be other reasons this occurred. I had a button that was interpreted by the browser as a submit button.
That's because you have to cancel.
Yeah, so let's change the type on that then. On my cancel, type equals button.
Because I changed one of my buttons to enter after I came
Oh.
back from that.
I guess you get a lot of inspiration from that place, huh? All right. Woohoo! Cool. Sanity restored. All right. So what we're gonna do once we get this form submission is we need to send it to our backend, right? However, we haven't built what we normally build, which is what? A service, right? So let's create that so that we can do all of our HTTP stuff. So let's say nggs, and then we'll call it HTTP. Cool. And then we need to add that also to our app.module, right? So here inside of our providers, let's add HTTP service. Okay, that imported it for us. Nice. And then inside our HTTP service, we also are going to need our HTTP client, right? So we need to add that to this as well. So let's go HTTP client module. Oops. Import. Where's that coming from? That's coming from Angular common HTTP, right? Okay, cool. All right, so we're importing that. And then we've made our HTTP service available throughout the app. So let's go into the HTTP service. Okay, what do we need to inject here? I'm going to try it the cool way here. What's that?
What's the type of
What's the what? Oh yeah. So I have this extension. It's I think it's called import cost. So it'll actually tell you how much the thing you're importing, what the weight of that thing is, how many kilobytes or megabytes or whatever. So it's kind of nice. All right. So private, we're going to take in an HTTP client, right? HTTP client. And then imported that for us, which is nice. Okay, so we're going to have some different methods here. We've got to be able to get our authors. So let's just do that. We'll have a get authors method. And then what are we going to return here? Anyone? A GET request to our API/authors, right? Okay, what else are we going to want? We're going to want to get one author for that edit form, right? So get author, and then that's going to take in an ID of some sort. We're going to return this dot underscore http dot get, and this time it's going to be API/authors/ID. Okay. What else do we need? Update, right? And that's going to take in what? It's going to take in an ID and the actual author. Yeah, perfect. And then we're going to make a put request with that, right? So that's going to be to, oops. We want to tack on the author's ID. So ID right there. And then we're going to pass in the author as well. And then the only other thing we need is just the delete, right? I think that's it. Delete author. And that's just going to take in an ID. And then we'll return delete request to API/authors plus ID. Okay, anybody have any questions about this part? No big deal there, right? Okay, cool. So now inside of our new author component, we want to bring in this service so that we can send this information to our backend, right?
Morley,
Mhm.
do you have one for your creation?
No. Nice. God dang it. All right, create author. We're going to take in an author object, right? And then we'll do return this dot post. Oops. That's it. And then the second argument is just going to be the author object. Question?
So the bonus thing is there something about sort? Would that be something you do here? That we have to do
I would probably do it in the back end. So in the back end, when we run our Mongoose query, we can specify some kind of sorting for that.
Yeah, on the find, you can do like find, open, dot, and then do a sort function on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's, inside of our new author component, let's do something instead of this. We need to actually bring in our HTTP service, right? So we'll go private. And I'm going to call it HTTP service this time so that we don't get confused. HTTP service. Okay, excellent. So on our submit, what we're going to do is we're going to run that create function, right? Create author. And then what am I going to pass into that? This guy right here, right? New this dot new author. Okay, and then I need to subscribe to that. Okay, that's going to give me back some data. All right. So what we want to do is, if what it gives me back was an error, I basically want to set an error here in this component, right? Something along those lines. Otherwise, what will we do? I think we're going to redirect, yeah, to all is correct. So here, after redirect to the root route upon successful submission, or when the cancel button is clicked. All right. So let's just do a quick check. So we'll say something like, if data has own property errors, then we'll set it up here. So I'll just have like an empty errors array. What's that? Oh, why did I say this? Jesus. Not out there. But here, what we're going to do is we're going to say this.errors equals data.errors. Okay? else what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some redirecting. So again, we're going to need the router one more time, right? So private, what's that? Router. Jesus. Sorry. All right, cool. So if that's true, let's just go ahead and navigate, right? Router.navigate. There. Okay.
Or do you want to navigate back to the main page or to the?
No, I want to go back to the main page, right? That's what it said in the assignment here. So if we successfully create it, let's just go back to the main page, and then of course the main page is going to show my newly created author.
I'm sorry, I looked at it. I thought you were navigating there if there was an error.
No, that's all good. And in fact, before we finish up this page, let's just create the all authors page so that we have something to go back to once we navigate, right? Okay. So all authors here. What am I going to need to inject in this guy? At the very least, I need my service, right? So that I can go get all my authors. So let's say private HTTP service, oops, is going to be HTTP service. Okay. And then when we initialize, so initially I'm just going to have my authors being an empty array. And then when we initialize, let's go and grab all the authors through our service, right? So we'll say this HTTP service.get authors, invoke that guy, and then we'll subscribe to it, get back some data, and then I'm going to say this dot authors equals data dot authors. Okay, so we should have access to them and we can actually iterate through them in our template. So I think it looked like some kind of a table, right? Author, actions available. All right, so ours would probably have an age since ours actually have an age, right? So let's just create a little table. T-head, T-row, TH times 3, up, T-body, TR, TD times 3. Okay, so name, age, actions. And then here, we're actually going to loop through these guys, right? So each row, I'm going to use my old ng4 on that. Okay, so let's go ng4. And then I'll set let author of authors. And then inside each one of these things, let's just display author.name, author.age. And then what are my actions going to be? I got to be able to edit and delete, right? Okay. So if I do these actually as buttons, we're going to have to use the router to navigate as opposed to using like a link, right? So if I say edit, we're going to have some kind of a click handler for the button, all right?
Wait, why can't we use the router?
No, you can. I'm just kind of doing it the way the actual wireframe looks. But you can also obviously create a link that looks like a button as well if you just use some CSS styling, if you want it that way. Okay, so let's say on click, we'll say something like go to edit, and then we'll just pass in that author's ID, right? Is this going to have an underscore in front of it or not?
Yes.
Yes, it will. Nice. Okay. And then my other button was going to be to delete. All right, so click. And then we'll say delete. Actually, we probably should say delete author. And then again, that's just going to take in the author ID, right? Okay, good deal. So we got to write little methods for these guys. Where's my all authors component? Okay, so what's my delete method going to look like? So I brought that in already, so I'm good to go. So I can just say this dot HTTP service, and then I have this delete author method, which also takes in an ID. So subscribe to that. I don't think I'm going to do any error handling here, but I don't know. You guys probably won't really need that, I would say, in this case, because we're only going to delete it if it already exists, right? But if this app was being accessed by multiple people at the same time, then you could have a situation where somebody over here deleted it, but I'm looking at the page and it's still there, right? Yeah.
Would you want to remove it from the array of authors, like the line above that? So that
Yeah, actually, we're definitely going to want to do that. That's a really good point. So that's kind of what I was saying, is that inside of our subscribe, though, we're going to pretend like errors can't happen. Now, they can happen, but, for the sake of keeping this thing moving, let's just handle this, right? So, yes?
Is there a way to like make it so if there's two people on the website and one person needs the author, the other person can have a live view?
Sure, if you have sockets going, right? Because sockets can give us a live, this two-way communication.
So without sockets, you won't be able to do that. Unless you refresh it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way that I can think of. Yeah, you have to be able to push something to the client side in order for that to work.
You have to have a JavaScript function running every X amount of seconds to make the call to the server, and then
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another possibility. You could, but that would be a heck of a lot of
instead of
server
that
calls.
socket to
Yeah.
be the most efficient, right?
Isn't that the eBay plug-in?
So they're not updating that stuff live. You literally have to refresh it. I think we talked about this when we did sockets, right?
They're still doing it that way?
Apparently.
Jeez.
Yeah, apparently.
eBay's
God.
been around since like 1997 or something. eBay is one of the oldest.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Technically.
Go to edit. What did we call that? Go to edit or something? Dang. Ah.
But that's why I got kind of taken over by Amazon. Nobody does it.
Okay, so in our go to edit, we just want to navigate away from this page, right? So we'll say this dot router dot navigate, and where do we want to navigate to here? I believe it's edit and then plus the ID, right? Okay. Oh, did we not bring in the router yet? Shoot.
So
All right.
what is comma there? Like I know that it's a plus and that makes it the string and everything, but
Mhm.
the fact that we're using an array, a comma wouldn't combine that. Is that
Let's try it. I think that would work actually. So let's just see if it does.
Wouldn't it need to be slash comma?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, it's kind of like, what's the point of even doing
You
this?
could just put it with the edit.
Oh, all right, fine. Yeah, whatever.
Morley's tired.
Yeah, you can tell, right? It's been a long week. I'm sure it has for you guys too. Yeah,
Oh,
long
man.
stack. All right, cool. So let's just go back home, right? I need to refresh this. Okay, cool. So we are getting our authors. Let's see what happens if I click on edit. Okay? So we at least got to the page. We just don't yet have the logic to actually pick up the author, right? Okay, cool. And let's test our delete real quick. Actually, one thing that Jamie pointed out is that once we delete, we're going to want to just take this individual author out of our array of authors, right?
Is it removed
You guys-
from SAT?
What's that?
Is it removed from SAT?
No, because it's not a set right now, it's an array. So do you guys have a good way to do it? I do. What's that? No. There's a filter function. So let's do that. So let's say this dot authors equals this dot authors dot filter. Filter takes a callback function, which is going to operate on every single author in our list, in our array. So I can say each author. And I just want to return whether that author ID does not match this author that I took in here. Because if they don't match, then I'm going to keep them in my array.
But at that point, isn't it deleted already?
What do you mean it's deleted already?
Didn't we delete it with the HTTP?
We deleted it on the back end, but has it been removed from our list on the front end? No, not yet, right? Now the other way, you could kind of cheat and then make another HTTP request and go get all the authors again, but let's not do that way. All right, so we'll return whether this author dot ID does not match the ID there. All right, so let's test this out and see if that works. Refresh this real quick, and then we'll delete that. Boom. All right, so we can create new. We haven't finished our create new. Let's go back to that and make sure it's working. So our handle submit. After, we're going to navigate back to the root route. So that was pretty much done, right? All right, never mind. Let's add him back in. 100. Okay, so that's working well. We also need to work on that edit page because right now there's nothing there, right? Okay, cool. Edit author component. So what are we going to need? Oh man, the spec file. It gets me every time. All right, cool. So what do we need to bring into this guy, to our edit component? Service. And then we also probably need the router because upon successful edit, where do we need to go? Home? Yeah, it doesn't really say that, but I think that's probably right. We would redirect, right? Okay, cool. So let's bring these two guys. So we'll say private HTTP service. HTTP service. Okay, private router. Okay, underscore here. Cool. And then on initialization, what do we want to do? Let's go get the author, right? Okay, so I'm going to say here that the author initially is just null. Okay, and then we're going to use the service to go get that author. Whoops. Before we do that, though, what else do we need to do here? No. I need to also grab the activated route, right? Because I don't know what the ID is of this particular author yet. Okay. And then params we also want to bring in. So this is the routing part that we were kind of working on earlier today. So here inside on initialization, we want to say this. I think we want to call this route, right? So we'll just call it route is an instance of the activated route. So we'll say this dot underscore route dot params, and then we want to subscribe to those, right? Okay, and then we're going to get back some params that are of type params. And that's why we imported it up here. Right? Cool. All right, so next what we want to do is we want to take that params.id and go reach back into our backend and grab it, right? So we'll go this .http service, and then we'll say .get author, and then I want to pass in params.id. What's that going to give me?
PID from the
Well, yeah, no, that's. I mean, what's this entire thing going to give me back? An observable. Yeah, so I need to subscribe to that as well. So there was a question yesterday, I think, is it okay to subscribe within a subscription? And yes, we can do that. So we'll say .subscribe. And that's going to give me back some data. And then when I get that data, I'm going to set my author, or that should be this .author, right? To the data.author. Okay? And then that should be pretty good. We just basically need to bring in our form from the new author component, right? So that we can make a few changes, but mostly it'll be the same thing. Okay, so edit author component is going to get this same form. What do we want to change about this?
Add values to it so you can have the place moving.
Well, that part's going to be taken care of for us by Angular with our banana in the box, right? We have that two-way data binding. So
You don't have to add it as a value then. It'll just automatically show.
that's what the two-way data binding is going to do. Yep. Pretty amazing, right?
So is it no longer new author value, it's just author value?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say, is that we need to make this small change because we're referencing it in a different way, right? So it's author.name. The other thing that I want to change here, and this will get you guys errors every time if you don't do this. I'm going to make this form an ngIf. Do you know why?
Because it's null, the author.
Because right now I'm trying, author is null, and I'm trying to reference this property name on it. So you're going to get errors on that if you don't make this form conditional. We only want to display it once the authors come back and we have that author's data. So let's just put this up in here. ngIf author not equal null. Okay, that should mostly be about right. Let's see if it's working for us. So if I go home, I think I want to refresh because we made some changes. So let's edit this guy. So that's working, right? Okay. We just need to wire up some stuff in here, right? We have to have a. Was there a cancel on this one too? Jesus. I'm going to borrow some code from the other one. Alright, so in the new author, we have our handle submit and our handle cancel. Let's just grab these guys. And then in our edit author, drop these in there. And then instead, what are we going to do on this handle submit here? So let's do create authors, and this is just going to be author. Okay, and then we got to create the errors array up there. Let's see, anything else?
Is that supposed to be created?
Yeah. Okay, so edit author is going to take in two things, right? It's going to take in ID.
Is it author data?
What's that?
No. Is it
Yes, we have an author object. I think it's update author.
I think, yeah, I was going to say, I must have named it something different. Update author. Okay, so we have to also be careful about this, because if we just pass in this.author has some other properties on it too, right? It doesn't have like created at, updated at, all that stuff from our back end. So what I'm going to do is only pass in specific things from it. Okay, so we'll just say the name is this.author.name, and then the age, this.author.age. Okay? That seems pretty good, right? Did I miss anything here? Let's try it. So let's just change his name to Ken. Okay, so that seemed to work. Go there. Okay, so the only other thing that we haven't really done is just the error handling, right? So how do we want to do that? We just need to create basically an array of errors anytime something doesn't meet validation. All right. Let's take a quick look at that. So let me close out some of this stuff. Okay. And then up here, oh gosh, let's close out all this stuff. We need to go back to our back end to actually turn the arrays that come, or the errors that come in, into an actual array so that we can pass it back to our front end, right? So inside our server, still trying to close this folder. Okay, cool. Inside of our controllers, when we hit an error, let's just pass those errors back to the front end, right? How do we want to do this? We want to loop through, right? So we'll just have const errors equals an array, and then we're going to do for let, what is it, error of errors.
Aren't we able to just send in error dot?
Error, I'm sorry, error of E. Sorry.
Can we just send in e dot errors, or what does the object look like? Because doesn't it give you an array of objects anyway for errors?
Let's test it out here, because I don't want to look at it in the back end, that it's just going to be kind of a pain in the butt. So let's say I do not a GET request, I want to do a POST request to here, right? With that in the body. So it looks like an object that has an errors property in it, and then inside that errors property we also have this one. But actually the reason that it sent that back is because I did that. So really it's going to be an object that has an errors inside of it, and then it's going to have these different fields that had errors.
Okay.
And then we could just grab the message from that, right? Okay. Okay, so let's go back here, and then we'll say error of e.errors, and then we'll just say errors.push error.message, right? Does that sound about right? Kind of doubting myself here, but all right, and then we've got to close something out over here. There. Okay, so that was on update. I think we're basically just going to borrow this, right? So for create, oops. Yeah, I'm going to try to, oh, lovely. Get rid of that. All right. Okay, so let's give this a try. Let's see if we can actually validate here. So if I go back home, and then I create a new author, K9. What happened to our network call here? Oops. Okay. Am I getting some kind of a server error here? Oh, lovely. E.errors is not iterable. Oh, because it's a, oh, geez. It's an object, not an array, right? So we can't do of, we'd have to say in. Yeah, all right. So let's fix that real quick. So we'll do in, and then we'll go error. Oops. Should be should be e at error, right?
Yeah.
Dot message like that.
No, this would just be error.message. Because it's iterating object.
Yeah, exactly. So this is giving me a key. Let's be more explicit about that. So let's say error is a key. So the error at that key and then the message property of it, right? All right, so let me replace this here inside my create. There. All right, let's try this again.
Did that have the watch, the build watch?
Yeah, should be. So that time we got something back. We got errors or null. Errors. Yeah, something's obviously not right.
So I think instead of just key.message by itself should do it.
Yeah, but key is just going to be the name of the key.
Right.
So we have to actually get the value out of.
If key equals message, and push in errors at that key. That's something I looks like they're trying to push in the message to each key.
Yeah, I think if you just, instead of key of key, you just put key.message, it'll push in the message of whatever that particular error is.
You think if I do this?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying? Alright.
You're wrong.
I don't know. Like, that doesn't seem right to me.
Still no?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Alright. If all else fails, we could just parse through it. I don't know. Let's see. So errors. Const errors equals e.errors, right?
It's such a nested object.
What does E look like?
That's that whole thing that we just saw.
So E kind of looks like this, only if you get rid of this outer one. The outer one I created, but inside of that we have this errors,
And then you have name.
and then each key inside of that, right?
So it should be E at key. So you said like for key.
Wasn't I? Yeah, but I did that E
Yeah,
at
it's
key.
E at key.
Why was that a
Message,
problem?
And then
So we'll say key in errors, right? And then we would do errors. Oh, well now I don't have anything. God dang it. All right. And then we would say something like E dot errors, or no.
Is it errors anymore?
It
It's not errors anymore. Errors is just that.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it should be.
Yeah, for keying, that was the issue.
isn't it like this? And then we'll say errors dot push.
Yeah, errors has a key of like first name or like title.
And then we'll say E dot errors at key dot message.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's right, right? Jeez, man. All right, so errors like that. Ooh, I didn't spell it right. All right, cool. So let's just grab this, hoping this works. Because if it doesn't, man, if this doesn't work, yeah, no. Yeah, I'm going to sleep here. All right. Yay! Woohoo! Okay, cool. So let's cancel and let's test an update. So if I go to edit Ken, take some stuff out here. Let's say he's 1 year old. Cool, man. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling rejuvenated after getting that error. Woo! Sorry it took so long, by the way.